Thanks for coming. I'm honored to be here on the campus of Auburn University in Montgomery, Alabama. What a great place. And I want to thank Gwen Nance and all the good folks for helping to set up this trip. It's not easy to welcome our entourage. Seems to be a little bigger than the last time I came here. I've got great fond memories of Montgomery. We were just talking backstage about the Elite Cafe. Hank Williams' grave. Somebody said maybe my old friend, the old former Mayor Emory Fulmer, will be here. Is he here? Emory, how you doing? I see some of the Blunts here. I remember working for Winton's dad. Anyway, thank you all for coming. We're going to talk about Social Security, and there's no better place to do it than on a college campus. Because college kids need to pay attention to this issue. And I think you know what I mean after I finish talking. Before I get into the subject, I want to first say that I'm sorry Laura's not with me. That is generally the reaction. But sometimes I interpret to mean, we wish she was here and not you. But nevertheless, she's doing great. She is a fantastic wife, a wonderful mother, and a great first lady for the country. Speaking about first ladies, it's good to have the first lady of the great state of Alabama here, and she brought her husband, the governor. Good to see you, Riley. I knew Riley as a congressman, and I told him, I said, if you get elected down there, you're going to love being the governor. It's a great job, isn't it? And you're doing a great job. Good to see you. Thank you all for coming. Making tough decisions. I'm proud of your Congressman, Mike Rogers. Mike, thank you for being here. And thanks for bringing Beth. I want to thank the Attorney General, Troy King, for coming. I'm glad you're here, Troy. You don't look old enough to be the Attorney General. I want to thank the State Auditor, Beth Chapman, for coming. I want to thank the State Treasurer, Kay Ivey. I thank all the state and local officials who are here. Really appreciate you coming. I've got some things on my mind. Before I get to the subject at hand, I do want to thank Woody Woodcock, who came out to see me today. Some of you may not know Woody. Where are you, Woody? Somewhere, man. Oh, there you go, Woody. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Let me tell you why I asked Woody to come. You're not going to believe this, but he has spent 7,000 hours on adult literacy in Montgomery, Alabama. This is a guy who has taken time out of his life to help somebody learn to read. I can't think of a greater gift and a better way to serve your community. And the reason I bring this up is because the strength of this country is the hearts and souls of our people. We got a great military, we'll keep it that way. We've got a strong economy, and we'll keep it that way. But those aren't the strengths of America. The strengths of America are the fact that there are millions of people across our country, like Woody, who are willing to take time out of their day to feed the hungry, provide shelter for the homeless, mentor a child, mentor an adult, put their arm around somebody and says, I love you, what can I do to help you? And if you want to serve our country, be one of those soldiers in the army of compassion to make America a better place. It's an exciting time around the world. It must be amazing for college students to pick up the newspaper and see there was an election in Afghanistan after years of tyranny. It's an election of Palestinian territory where the candidate said, election of Palestinian territory where the candidate said, let's live side by side with Israel in peace. There's an election in Ukraine. There's an election in Iraq. Where the terrorists had declared that democracy could not prevail, yet millions went to the polls. It must be amazing to see how powerful freedom is for you. I've always believed it. I'm a little older, so I've had a little chance to absorb the concept that freedom is universal and freedom is powerful. But you're getting to watch it. And that's important, because free societies will be peaceful societies. We're still in a different kind of war, and the way to win this war long term is to help people realize the great call of freedom that's buried deep in their soul. Freedom is on the march, and the United States of America will use our influence to continue to make this world more free and more peaceful. More people are working now in America than ever before in our nation's history, and that's good. We've overcome a recession. We've overcome terrorist attacks. We've overcome corporate scandals. We've overcome war. We've overcome a lot because the entrepreneurial spirit in this country is strong. The unemployment rate in Alabama is 5.3%. Congratulations, Governor. Actually, you only get partial credit. The credit goes to the entrepreneurs and dreamers and risk takers and doers. And our job in government is to create an environment in which people are willing to take risk. Yesterday I was in Ohio talking about the need for the Congress to get an energy plan to my desk. I submitted a strategy in 2001. And I said, listen, we got a problem. We're importing too many hydrocarbons from overseas. The supply and demand is getting out of balance. You're seeing it at the price of the pump right now, what I was talking about. I said we need to encourage conservation. We need to encourage use of renewable sources of energy, ethanol and biodiesel. We need to do smart things with taxpayers' money to encourage the growth of new technologies. When I went up to Columbus, I visited a research facility, talked to a person who's in charge of developing a zero-emissions coal-fired electrical plant. It's going to happen. We need to do something about our electricity grid. And yet they've been debating for 4 years. It is time for Congress to stop debating about energy and get a good energy bill to my desk. We need more legal reform in Washington. Did something on class action lawsuits, which will help make sure this economy continues to grow. I think they're going to get something done on asbestos. And for the sake of good health care, Congress needs to get me a medical liability bill so we don't run good doctors out of practice and run up the cost of medicine. I want to talk about Social Security. First thing is, people are saying, gosh, I'm surprised he's even willing to talk about the issue. You remember it was called the third rail of American politics. You talk about it and you make suggestions about it, and sure enough, the next thing you know, there will be a blizzard of TV ads trying to run you out of office. It was used, Social Security was used in a lot of campaigns to frighten people. So, well, if you're talking about reform, it means the senior's not going to get his check. But I'm talking about it because I believe the job of a president is to confront problems and not pass them on to future generations and future presidents. I'm about to tell you we got a problem. We've got some panelists here. I think you're going to find the conversation to be interesting. We've got granddad and grandson, a granddad and granddaughter. And the reason I've asked them to join us is because this is a generational issue we're talking about. Social Security is a vital system, and Franklin Roosevelt did a good thing and put it in place. It provided a safety net for a lot of citizens. And it worked for a lot of years. But it's not going to work in the out years because the math has changed. Let me tell you about the math. This is a pay-as-you-go system. Money goes in and money goes out. There's no such thing, by the way, as a Social Security trust. some people probably think that the government's taken your payroll tax and held it for you, and then when you retire, they give it back to you. That's not what happens. The government takes your money and spends it on other things and puts an IOU piece of paper on your behalf, which may be worth something, may not be worth something. The math is this. Baby boomers like me are fixing to retire. I will be retirement age in 2008. It's coincidental, isn't it? That don't mean I'm going to quit working. I'll be eligible for Social Security. That's when I turn 62, and I'm the leading edge of a lot of other people. The baby boomers are getting ready to retire, and there's a lot of us. And we're living longer years than before. And that's good. It's good that we have a healthier society. We're making better choices. If you want to live longer, exercise, by the way. Make good choices about your body. We're living longer, and we have been promised greater benefits than the previous generation. In other words, people ran for office and said, vote for me, I'll increase your Social Security benefits. That's what happened. So start thinking about the math. More people living longer, getting greater benefits, and fewer people paying. In 1950, that chart will show you, there was 16 workers to 1 paying into the system, and therefore if the average payout for Social Security would be $14,200. It means each worker would be paying $900 a year to support that one retiree. That's manageable. Today, it's 3.3 workers to each beneficiary. Therefore, the cost is now up to $4,700 per worker. Soon, it's going to be 2 workers per beneficiary. And that's assuming the benefits stay at $14,200 on average. In other words, you got fewer people paying into the system. And the system, which was a great system, now needs to be modernized, because if we don't, the money going out, which you can see on this chart, will be greater than the money coming in starting in 2018, and it just perpetually declines. Our government can't afford that. You see, because baby boomers like me are retiring and fewer people paying in, the system goes into the red starting in 2018. 2029, it's $200 billion short. That's short after payroll tax. So you got younger workers paying in, trying to pay for me, but the government isn't being able to make its promise. And that's the problem. And it's a problem we got to address, because the closer we come to 2018 when it starts in the red, the harder it is to solve the problem. Now, we've tried to solve this problem before. In 1983, Congress came together and said we got to make sure the safety net works. And they said we'll put a 75-year plan out there. This was in 1983. President Reagan brought Republicans and Democrats together, which, by the way, is a good model for President Bush. That it's going to take Republicans and Democrats to come to the table, and I expect both parties to be at the table. But they said, we get a 75-year fix on Social Security in 1983. Well, didn't last very long, did it? See, what we need to do is address the root causes, the demographics which have shifted, and fix this system permanently. That's why I've come to Montgomery, Alabama, and that's why I'm going to Tennessee tomorrow. I'm going to Louisiana, and that's why I'm going to travel next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. I'm going to make it clear to the American people we have a problem. And I'm also going to say it as plainly as I can. I don't care what the TV ads say. I don't care what the pamphlets say. If you've retired or near retirement, the government will pay you what we've said we'll pay you. That's reality. I was talking to Rogers about this. He said there's a lot of people in my state who rely solely upon Social Security, and I understand that. A lot of people in my state, too. People who count on that Social Security check coming in every month. It's an important part of their retirement. And I assure the members of Congress, when I talk to them, I understand why somebody would get nervous when they're talking about Social Security. Because somebody's saying, really what he's going to do is going to take away your check. And so it's going to be an important part of this campaign around the country to make it clear to those who are receiving their Social Security check, nothing changes. Nothing changes. And when I convince people of the truth, it's a lot easier to convince people of the truth, by the way. When I convince them of the truth, then the American people, particularly younger folks, are going to start saying to those of us who've been elected, you said we got a problem and we believe you. The seniors don't have anything to worry about. What you going to do for us? What are you going to do for younger workers who are going to have to pay the burden for a system that needs to be modernized? I'm saying to the members of the United States Congress, let's fix this system permanently, no Band-Aids. Let's do our duty. And I believe that when this debate gets moving hard and people get educated about the realities of Social Security, woe be to the politician who doesn't come to the table and try to come up with a solution. There's too much politics in Washington, D.C. People need to negotiate in good faith. You know, there's too much, well, I can't do it for the sake of my political party. People in both political parties need to come together and fix this for the sake of America, first and foremost. In my State of the Union address, I did something the President, I don't think, has ever done, and that is said all options are on the table. I said, if you've got a good idea, bring it up. Let us hear it. You know, a lot of times people would lay out an idea on Social Security and try to trap somebody, politically trap them so that you could then, get them. But I said to the Congress, if you got a good idea, come on with it. Let us hear it. I've got some good ideas myself in order to permanently fix Social Security. And one interesting idea that needs to be a part of a permanent fix, because it in itself is not a permanent fix, is to let younger workers take some of their own money and set it aside in a savings account. Now, let me tell you why I think this is an interesting idea. First of all, I like the idea of people owning something. I think we need to encourage ownership in our society. You realize the home ownership rate is an all-time high in America. More minorities own a home than ever before in our nation's history. And that's positive. It's incredibly good news. I love the fact when I meet people from all walks of life and say, I own my own business. I want people saying I own and manage a part of my own retirement account. But that's not a new concept. It's happening already. When I was young, I didn't know anything about 401ks because I don't think they existed. Defined benefit plans were the main source of retirement. Now they've got what they call defined contribution plans. Workers are taking aside some of their own money and watching it grow through safe and secure investments. As a matter of fact, the concept is such a good idea that the federal government allows federal employees to do just that. In other words, they say you can take some of your employment money and set it aside in an account of stocks and bonds. And the reason the federal government lets employees do that is because the federal government understands that when you save in stocks and bonds, that the rate of return over time, the compounding rate of interest, will enable your money to grow substantially more than if the government holds it for you. It's a smart thing to do, to let federal workers do that. I remember one of the fellows working at the White House said, I heard you talking about personal accounts and Social Security. He said, I love my thrift savings plan. Now, he's not the investor class. He's a fellow I don't think went to college. But the reason I bring that up is there's an attitude among some people in this country that only certain people can invest. You know, that's not what I think. I think everybody in America should be allowed to take some of their own money and set it aside and watch the money grow in safe and secure investments. I don't think there is such thing as an investor class limited to certain people. I don't believe that. Now, you can't take your money under this idea and put it into the lottery. That's not safe. All due respect, Governor. You have a lottery? No. It's not safe. Got one in Texas. Anyway, You can't take it to the track. You got a track? No. You can only put it in safe and secure stocks and bonds. And you hold it for time. Another good part of this plan is that a permanent fix will mean younger workers probably aren't going to get the promise the government's made. We can't afford it. But because of the compounding rate of interest, if you start saving money early, your asset base will grow. And that asset base, along with whatever the government is going to pay you, becomes the basis for your retirement, and you withdraw on a regular basis interest off of your capital. Now let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. If you're a worker who's made $35,000 over your lifetime, and the government says you can set aside 4% of your payroll taxes into a personal account, by the time, and you invest in safe and secure stocks and bonds, by the time you retire, your personal savings account will be worth $250,000, $250,000. And that's yours. If you've averaged more money over your lifetime, the money goes up exponentially. And it's your money. It's your money you can retire on. But if Social Security is just a part of your retirement package and you feel comfortable, it's your money you can give to your children or your grandchildren. Now we're going to talk an interesting story about what happens to some people here who die earlier than expected, what it means for Social Security. If that were to happen, you can pass that on to your widow. There's a lot of benefits with this idea, and it's a new idea. It's not a new idea when it comes to investing. It's not a new idea when it comes to what's happening with 401ks or with the federal government, but it's a new idea for Social Security. It's a way to make sure that Social Security is complemented with more money available for the workers. And that's an idea I want Congress to seriously consider. I think it's an idea that makes a lot of sense, and I'm going to continue talking about it. I've asked Jeff Brown to join me. He is a professor. He can tell you where do you profess.
I have a PhD in economics, and I teach at a business school.
Yeah. It's an interesting lesson here, by the way. He's an advisor. Now, he is a PhD, and I am a C student, or was a C student. Now, what's that tell you? All you C students at Auburn, don't give up. All right. I try to have an expert on these panels so that people think there's somebody else who believes we got a problem other than me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. It's absolutely true.